Welcome to the Support Report podcast, hosted by United Community Supports of Maryland. Here, we discuss any and all topics relating to adults with developmental disabilities as we strive to make support resources and other interesting topics more accessible to our community. In this episode of the Support Report, we will hear from Nicole Sheppard, who has a key role with the Maryland Developmental Disabilities Administration, as she shares important insights on getting into DDA services along with a few helpful tips. Today's guest is Nicole Sheppard, who's the Transitioning Youth Coordinator / Matrix Score Coordinator for the Southern Regional Office of the Department of Developmental Disabilities Administration of Maryland. We're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. So Nicole, just to get started with our questions, number one, what is the first step in the transitioning youth process? What do you do?
Yeah, so that first step in the transitioning youth process is such a major step. I would say the first thing that you actually need to do is to meet with your coordinator of community service so that they can actually explain this entire process to you and let you know step by step everything that you're going to be doing for your loved one's last year of school so that we can get you transitioned in the DDA services. So that first step is going to be meeting with your coordinator of community service, your CCS, and just having that meeting and that getting an understanding of everything that's about to happen.
Okay, awesome. Yep. All right, and then when should people apply for DDA services?
So you can actually apply for DDA at any age. I've seen applications for 2-year-olds before. You can do that at any age, but I would say you want to wait to apply when you actually have enough documentation from medical professionals that shows that your loved one or the person you're applying for has a demonstrated need for services. A lot of times, there are a lot of doctors that won't diagnose before a certain age. So I would say once you've acquired enough information, you can go ahead and apply because our eligibility team has to look at all of that information and make a determination based off what it says. And sometimes when kids are a little younger, there's just not enough information for our team to make that determination. So as long as you have enough information and you compiled all of that, then I would say go ahead and feel free to apply to DDA services.
That makes sense. When should people visit providers?
Okay, so visiting providers. I always let people know you can visit providers whenever. Sometimes there's some families that like to get out there early just to see what's out there. But as far as if your loved one is a TY or the person that you're serving is a TY, we generally start visiting providers the year before their exit year. So I'll take right now, since we're in the year 2022, I'll take the people who are graduating this year around May and June of 2022, started visiting providers in the summer of 2021. So you're going to look at providers the summer before the person is coming out of school.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay. And then how can families stay up to date with DDA changes?
Oh, wow. So to stay up to date, the best way to stay up to date with DDA changes, because we do have a lot of them and everything's always moving, I would say really utilize the DDA website. If you go to that DDA website, right there on the first page, if you look to the right, there is links there that says what's new with DDA. You can click there. There's also a link there for the DDA mailing list. You can actually apply to be on the DDA mailing list. There's also a link there for you to like DDA's Facebook page. DDA's Facebook page is Maryland Department of Health Developmental Disabilities Administration. So I would say that website generally will keep you up to date. On the website, we also post any letters and memos that we send out. You'll be able to find right there on our DDA website, right there on the homepage. That's going to be the best way to stay up to date with all the changes.
Perfect. Okay. And then can families change providers?
Yes. If you are with a provider, you can definitely change providers. We know that sometimes sometimes it doesn't work out, or maybe you just want something different. You can definitely change providers. Just like when you went through that transition and youth process, when I discussed visiting providers, you would just have to find a different provider to serve your loved one, and that provider would have to accept you. And then your coordinator of community service will actually revise your PCP, your plan, and you can actually change providers as long as that provider has accepted you. Yes.
Okay, very cool. And then can an individual have multiple providers at one time as well as multiple services at one time?
So yes, you can have multiple services at one time. I'm going to start with services. You can have multiple services at one time. There's sometimes some of our services go hand in hand kind of with each other. You can also have multiple providers. I will say this. You need to have one provider per service. So let's say you're getting our community development services. There can only be one provider that provides that services for you. You can't have that stretched out across two. But if you were getting maybe a day service and maybe you were getting like personal supports, those can be two separate providers if you like, but only one provider can provide the same service to someone.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What is a PCP?
So a PCP is a person-centered plan. So DDA, we believe that everyone has the right to live, love, work, play, and pursue their aspirations in their communities. So that PCP focuses on the planning for the vision for the person, and we're looking at whatever that person feels is a defined good life for them. That PCP, that person-centered plan, is going to reflect that person's outcomes, their goals, everything that they would like to do for what they perceive as their good life. So that's what the person-centered plan, that PCP, is just a reflection to show everything that we're going to do with that person to help them live their most fulfilling life.
Awesome. Is there anything that isn't obvious that families should know or be aware of? Like, in other words, is there any way to avoid the wait list?
I get this question a lot.
I'm
So
sure.
I would say there's no secret to avoid the wait list because funding becomes available as it, at various times and as it does. So when you are initially applying to DDA, you are applying to be a part of the waiting list. And then there are separate streams on how we go into funding. So I would say that the one thing that I feel that sometimes families don't know, I think when you apply for that wait list and you get a coordinator of community service, talk to them about the different streams or the different funding streams of how to get into services and what DDA has available at that time. Your CCS will be able to walk you through that process so that you're aware of this is how kind of like how the process works. This is the funding that's currently available to see if you even meet the criteria for that funding. And if not, they can let you know if there's other funding or things of that nature.
Okay. Okay, got it. And then when should families apply for Medicaid?
So families can apply for Medicaid whenever they feel like it. I will say this, I think sometimes there's a bit of confusion on the DDA application. I always get families that ask me, do I need to apply for Medicaid? Well, the application makes it seem like I need to have Medicaid before I apply. That is completely false. You can apply for DDA at any time, even if you don't have Medicaid, because you're applying to be a part of our waiting list. So even though the application reads that, please know that if you don't have Medicaid, it is okay to apply for DDA services. We just want to make sure that when it comes time for your loved one or the person applying for DDA services to go into services, they have to be eligible for Medicaid. So even when it's time for you to go into services, you might not have Medicaid at that time, and that's fine. When we put you on the waiver, it puts you in the Medicaid program as well. We just want to make sure that that person will be eligible for Medicaid at that time, which means that they cannot have any assets or money over $2,000 in their name. So as long as you're eligible for Medicaid, when it comes time for you to go into services, you'll be set to go.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, now I just have three last questions that are part of our rapid fire.
Okay.
So number one, what brought you into this field?
Oh, wow. So what brought me into this field? I would say I got my master's degree in criminal justice. I have worked as a corrections officer at a prison. I've always liked working with people and helping people from, a disadvantaged population. I worked child protective services for 5 years, and I felt like, you can get burnt out of that job pretty quickly. And I wanted to do something. I was like, well, I want to do something to still help, a less populated field. So when I started looking at it with people with developmental disabilities, I was just like, I think this is amazing. And then as I got into this field, I started realizing like, I really do like to work with people to help them get a better understanding of services, how to take these complex services and really make it something that everyone can understand. So I've always had a knack for helping people and explaining processes to people. And I've always worked with, what we call, populations that really need just assistance. So I guess that's just been my thing.
Wow, what a journey.
Yeah.
That's not, one that you hear every day going from, different sectors, but that's really awesome. That was very cool. And then what is your dream for this community?
So for this community, as I stated in my last answer, I'm just someone who really thinks that a lot of times things can be hard because maybe not a lot of information out there. So for this community, I would love to see families able to connect with all resources and have a understanding of the resources that are out there to help them. I would also like to see like the resources coming together. There are a lot of times, maybe something DDA doesn't do, but there are other people in the community that do provide that service. So I know normally when a family needs services, this is probably one of the most trying times for them. So I would love to see a place where families maybe can go and get all the resources, like, hey, someone can tell you these are the different things, these are the different things, instead of the families having to try to cut and piece everything together, or to be able to have to, I have to call this person. Well, we don't do that, but we can tell you who does, and things like that. I just want them to be able to obtain all the resources, or have a place where they can obtain all resources kind of at a snapshot. I don't know if it needs to be a website or what, but I know it's hard when you come to one and they say, well, we don't do that, but they do. And then you have to go call that person and, well, do you guys do this? Well, this is our process. And then, well, they can do this too. And it's a lot for families. So I would love to see it get to a point where they can kind of just go to a place like, hey, these are different people that provide these services. This is what you can do. This is what we can do. We can help you maybe apply here and there so that we can go ahead and piece together the best thing for families.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
amazing to have it one simple, streamlined process. I
Yeah.
think that's everyone's dream.
Yes.
And then last but not least, what is the one thing that we can positively do now to change services?
Positively do now, I would say getting the information out there. I think I'm really big on that. Just making sure that we are as transparent as we can be about services, about how things work, and just making sure that families are aware that we are here to help and that we can do certain things. So we just want to make sure that we're helping families as much as we can during some of their most difficult times. Because normally, if you're needing services, you're probably having a difficult time at home and things of that. So I think right now, just all the resources, the providers, DDA, stakeholders, everyone coming together to make sure that we can kind of wrap that net around families and say, hey, we're here, let us see, what we can do and things of that nature. I think that's something we all as providers and things can come together to do to try to help families right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Oh, Nicole, this has just been so awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks again for listening to the Support Report podcast. Tune in next month for a new episode.